Hello everyone, I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm the Nerd of the Street, and today we are unboxing an Audio-Technica Pro 70 microphone and a Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 audio interface. Alright everyone, so I purchased this Blue Yeti that I'm holding right now way back in 2014. It was actually the first thing that I ever purchased with money that I made off of Nerd on the Street. And this thing has served me very well over the years. I've used it for countless videos. And this little microphone, in addition to the cheap Amazon pop filter that I threw on it, you've probably seen these in a majority of my tech videos that I've made in the past 4 years. I've used it for recording, I've used it for streaming, I've used it for some of the Nerd on the Street creative content, just all kinds of stuff. This microphone has been absolutely great. And when I got this, I wanted something simple. You know, I wanted a nice, just USB plug it into my computer and it works microphone that would be an upgrade from what I had before, which was really no dedicated microphone at all. I am very happy with this purchase of the Blue Yeti, and I am going to keep it around and continue using it. Blue still sells the Yeti, in their store. This is not obsolete at all. However, it is time here at Nerd on the Street, I think, for a little bit of an audio upgrade, especially for these tech videos. As you can see, I'm currently standing in front of my desk and holding this desktop microphone in my hand. You see, when I got this Blue Yeti, I had an L-shaped desk that was made for the corner of a room. So it was really easy for me to set this on one side of the desk and position my camera in a way where I'm both talking towards the camera and into the microphone at the same time. Of course, I do not have that desk anymore, nor do I have quite as much space as I did around that era of Nerd on the Street. So in some of my recent videos, a lot of the videos from the past couple of years, you may have seen me have the microphone sitting on the desk and I'm sort of talking at an angle toward the camera while leaning into the microphone like this. This does not look very good. It does not sound very good. I know you can hear it every time I turn my head away from the microphone. This was what I was used to using for videos. I was comfortable with this for a long time, and I'm still very comfortable with this Blue Yeti as a piece of equipment. I know how it works. I know all of its quirks and everything, and I'm confident in using this, that I am able to use it properly. However, like I said, for Nerd on the Street technology videos, it is time for an upgrade, because right now it looks like I am going to be in this setup for a little while longer, and even once I'm not, I have to continue to grow. So what I have here is an Audio-Technica Pro 70 microphone. This is a lavalier microphone, also known as a lapel microphone, and it's one of those little ones that clips onto your shirt. And you just talk and it picks you up. I've never used one of these before. I've always just used desk microphones. I actually have used some similar microphones to this for brief periods of time during Nerd on the Street's Extra Life live stream, and I was very, very impressed with how it worked. And in fact, eventually I'd like to get a number of these, so when I'm doing group live streams like that, I can just have everyone wearing one of these and not have to worry about the placement of microphones once again. So I'm really hoping that the fact that I'm purchasing this is going to improve the quality of these tech videos that I am making in this setup with this desk, hoping that it makes it easier and more natural for me to do these introductions to my videos, and then once I turn around to the screen and start talking, I'll be able to leave the microphone on my shirt right where it is, and you won't notice a big difference when I cut to the desktop. You won't notice a big difference in the audio like you do today. It'll be much more consistent and much more professional. That's what I'm hoping. So we're going to unbox this in a moment. Now, this is a professional microphone. When I got the Blue Yeti, one of the things I really liked about it is that it was a USB microphone. That means that the audio interface for this thing is in the microphone, so I don't have to worry about the quality of the audio jack on my computer. USB is a digital connection, so either it's plugged in and receiving the full quality or it's not plugged in at all. I did not have to worry about scratched up connectors on the ends of cables or any of that with the Blue Yeti. However, the Blue Yeti Pro, which I did not get, has an XLR output, and XLR is a professional analog audio plug type, basically. You know, you've got your 3.5 millimeter tiny little connectors that are like this. I've got my headphones plugged into my computer with this 3.5 millimeter connection here. This is a consumer connection right here. XLR is a professional connection. And in the past, any time that I have dealt with XLR, it has been usually during Extra Life or during one of the bigger Nerd on the Street productions. I used it for a skit on the creative channel within the past couple of years, but that's never been me dealing with XLR. I have never dealt with XLR myself before. That has always been my friend Michael Chanot helping me with audio for those specific productions where I did need something a little more professional and a little more high production than just a Blue Yeti. Audio is not my domain, so I have always just shied away from it. From anything more complicated than this. But like I said, it's time to grow. I need to continue growing, and I'd like to provide you guys with some higher quality content than what I've been getting out recently. So in order to help facilitate that, I have also picked up my first dedicated audio interface. This is a Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. This thing has two Xlr inputs, so you can plug two microphones into it. And then this provides the USB output into my computer. Now, I know this is going to work well because my friend Michael Chanot that I just told you about, he actually let me borrow his Focusrite Scarlett to test before Extra Life, and we've actually used it 2 years in a row for Extra Life, our 24-plus hour telethon that we do. So if this thing can run stable for 27 hours like it did last year in November for Extra Life, it should be able to handle however long a tech video is going to be as well. In addition to having two microphone inputs, this also has a 1/4-inch plug for headphone output. I'm not going to be using that right away, but eventually I might. But yeah, I know that the Scarlett is going to work well with Linux. I've used it with Linux and Pulse Audio before and had no issues. We had some issues in 2017, but in 2018 we had no issues. And I'm confident that I'll be able to use that well. So I am getting tired of picking up and putting down this microphone right now, and like I'm holding it in front of my face. This looks terrible. So this is what I'm trying to make better here. I'm improving this for you guys, your viewing pleasure. This is a big change for me, and I thought about this a lot. Do I really want to go down this rabbit hole of pro audio that I've never touched before? Because I always say I'm not an audiophile. You know, I know what's acceptable and what's unacceptable. Some of my videos from like 2013, unacceptable. But most of these videos have been acceptable, but not great, that I've been doing in the past couple of years. So, like I said, this is, I think, going to make a big difference in production quality of these tech videos going forward. I spend a lot of money on creative channel content here, you know, graphics cards for animations. I spend a lot of money on Extra Life every year, gaming channel production, but I don't often spend money on the tech channel stuff because this tech channel is based around free and open software, so there's not a lot of money I have to spend on the software side, and then hardware, I've generally already had everything I needed in the past. But the tech channel content is what gets most of the views here at Nerd on the Street, and I am ready to invest a little bit of money into that to improve it once again. And if it's anything like when I got this Blue Yeti in 2014, if the jump in production quality now is anything as huge as when I got this thing, then this is going to be a very smart investment that I will appreciate for a long time. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring the camera in. The reason why both of these are in the same video and not in two separate videos is because in a Nerd on the Street context and a YouTube context, these are going together. They are two separate products from two separate companies, but they are the same project for me, this audio upgrade that we're doing. So I've got these plus an XLR cable. I'll show you all that when I set this microphone down because the pop filter is starting to fall down now because you're not supposed to hold this thing in your hands while you're using it. So let's bring you guys in here to the desk. Alright guys, here we are on my desk, and we are going to open up the microphone first. Honestly, I picked out the microphone when I was doing this project first. I found a microphone I thought would be good, and then later I found an interface that I would be comfortable plugging the microphone into. So let's go ahead and take a look at this thing. We've got a picture of the microphone on the front. This is the microphone. It does have a cord that goes to a box, and that box is what you plug into the interface. This box can hold a single AA battery to power the microphone, or my interface provides phantom power, so it won't even require the battery in it. This is a little bit of a closer view of the microphone. It will have a clip on it to clip on to your lapel, or, you know, in my case, just my shirt. I do have a pair of Audio-Technica headphones right now, and I am very happy with them, so I am feeling pretty good about this choice in microphone. I did watch some YouTube videos from other people kind of demonstrating how this thing works. This is created specifically for both vocal reproduction and acoustic guitar instrument pickup. But like I said, I did find a few people online using it for vocals in their YouTube videos like what I normally do, and it did sound pretty darn good. The biggest difference is probably going to be a slight lack of bass compared to what you might expect from me talking into my Yeti, because when you get super close to the Yeti here, it picks up a lot of the lower end of your voice. And people kind of like to hear that. It makes things sound a bit warmer and easier to listen to for long periods of time. As I get farther away from the Yeti, you can kind of hear it's picking up less of that bass, and I have to talk louder to get anything into the microphone at all. So this thing will be more uniform, but possibly less bass. So we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna open up the box here at this point. I purchased this from B&H Photo Video. I'm very comfortable with them. I've used their returns process before, their RMA process, and it's worked fine for me in the past when I did need to use it. So B&H is where I go for a lot of my AV equipment. Looks like we've got some documentation here at the top. We have a full specification sheet that is unfolding out there and repeated in another language or 3. So I'll keep that handy. We've got purchase registration card, which I guess is to activate the 1-year limited warranty, which would probably be a smart idea for me to do. We have an Audio-Technica sticker. That's like I don't know if that's a small bumper sticker or just a large general sticker. That's interesting. I already had some Audio-Technica products, like I said. I don't think I have a sticker laying anywhere. Maybe I got one with my headphones, I don't remember. This here is something talking about the waste. Disposal of old electrical and electronic equipment. Applicable in European countries. Okay, well, I'm not in Europe, and I'm also not planning to throw this thing away right away, so I'll keep this handy in case I ever need it. But for now, we can finally get to the actual microphone, which is here in this bubble wrap. And actually, before I move the box out of the way entirely, we do have a little bag here for the microphone, which I am positive I will end up using. Inside of this bag, we've got a AA battery that comes with it. That's nice that they give you one to start out. In case your audio interface does not provide phantom power. We've got both of the clips, it looks like, for the microphone. So I will actually be using this one to clip onto my shirt. This one's made for instruments like guitars. I don't play guitar at the moment, but you know, I'll keep that thing handy in case I ever need it. And that's everything. Oh no, there is one more thing in this bag here, a little wind filter, which I will put on the microphone, which will decrease the amount of wind noise that comes in. So that's cool. Alright, so we'll set this bag off to the side, and that is everything. Unfolding this any further would just take the box apart. So we'll go ahead and close this and set that away. And here in this bubble wrap is the microphone itself. This is the pack, like I said, that you plug in, and here's the microphone at the end of the cord. So we will unwrap the bubble wrap. We can find our tape here. Alright. I do have a knife nearby in case I need it, but I didn't want to be cutting into bubble wrap when there's cords inside. So we'll just take this entire piece out of the bubble wrap, and here we have the Audio-Technica Pro 70 microphone. As you can see, looks like it's made in Taiwan. This is a metal enclosure here. This feels very nice. It feels very, very sturdy, very high build quality, first impression. Definitely metal and not plastic. I'm going to set this down for a moment to unravel our little twisty tie around the cord here, and the microphone is hardwired into that pack. You cannot unplug the microphone from the pack. There wouldn't be much point to being able to do that other than maybe replacing a bad microphone, but if you do have to do that, you're just going to have to replace the pack as well. So this is a fairly long cord. The idea is this clips onto you, and then this goes in your pocket or off camera. So this is a fairly long cord, but this is the microphone itself, much smaller than my Yeti. You know, the Yeti is a desktop microphone that's pretty darn large, and this is a very, very small microphone. It's about the size of my pointer finger, as you can see. So the fact that this thing is going to pick up great audio is pretty mind-blowing. The microphone itself does have a little bit of weight to it, which I like. You know, you don't want it to be too heavy because it's hanging off of your clothes, but considering it's so small, you don't want it to be cheap by any means either. So this is certainly metal as well. This little cylinder here, we've got the microphone grill at the top there. This is what it'll look like when you put that wind filter on, like that. Okay, here, I'll just do that one more time because I know that was kind of against the angle of the camera. So you just kind of pop it on here. That's all you got to do to put the wind filter on. And now we have this tiny little microphone. It's got a little Audio-Technica logo right there, as you can see. This thing looks very nice. I'm very excited to get started using this. Back here on the pack, we've got the top of this thing opens up with this button here. You see, you push that in, and then you pull up on the top to put your AA battery in here if you need it. I'm not going to put that in this video, and we'll see, just to demonstrate that this thing can operate off of phantom power. That's power that goes back through the audio cable that you have plugged in. It sends power through the audio cable from your interface to the microphone, which is cool. So it'll actually be powered by USB. Some audio interfaces plug into the wall, but this audio interface that I've got, the Scarlett, it just plugs in with USB. So this microphone can be powered by USB. It's a very small microphone, so that makes sense. We will pop this top of this back on. This is an awkward camera angle for me to be working with here, so hopefully I'm doing all right. The bottom here, you can see, like I said, microphone is hardwired in to our pack, and then this is the XLR connector. This is a 3-pin audio connection. This is what pro audio looks like right here. It's not that 3.5mm headphone jack, it's this XLR connection. So that's what we'll plug in a moment here. I do have an XLR cable I picked up from Guitar Center because I did not have any XLR cables before this. I did not own a single one. Over here we do have a clip to clip this onto, like a belt or a pair of jeans or anything, you know, to keep this pack stationary while you're wearing this thing. I'm very familiar with this setup because, like I said, I used a head-worn microphone actually for Extra Life 2017, and that thing had a pack similar to this. So I'm familiar with the setup of wearing a pack like this. On the right side here, underneath the push button to open up the battery pack, we do have just a little switch here. This is when the microphone is turned off. This in the middle is when the microphone is turned on, the straight line, and then this top one will actually cut down on bass. Now, I don't know if I'm going to ever use that. We'll see how it works. I'll have to figure out what sounds good. Like I said, this microphone is actually going to pick up less bass from my voice than my Yeti will, because I won't be talking directly into this. This will be sitting underneath my face, you know, clipped onto my shirt, and I'll be talking forward above this microphone. The reason why this option to cut off some of the bass frequencies exists is because you can also get bass frequencies popping up when this microphone is rubbing against your clothes. You know, if you got this pinned onto a shirt or clamped onto a shirt and the shirt's rustling, then that can show up as bass frequencies in the microphone. So this setting is supposed to cut down on that a little bit. So I'll have to see how bad that rustling sound actually is, and I'll have to see, you know, if I'm getting a lot of that or how much bass I'm even getting with either of these options compared to my Yeti. I do want to try and keep the warm sound that I like to aim for in my videos, but I do know that this will be a little bit of a change with how things sound. I think it will be more professional. I do just want to make sure that it also still sounds, you know, pleasant. So we're going to set these things down at this point and just slide them up here, and I am going to unbox next the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. I keep calling it the red Scarlett as opposed to my blue Yeti. But this is the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. Like I said, this is a USB audio interface, and it is entirely powered off of USB. Some other USB audio interfaces will have a separate wall plug. I know that the USB power will work well on this thing because I do have experience using the one that Michael Chanot owns. He's told me very good things about it. I've got first-hand experience using it on Linux with my computers, so I'm comfortable with this and confident in it. As you can see, it does include some professional software, at least light versions of some professional software. However, this stuff I'm 99% certain will not work on Linux, so I will not be utilizing it. But that's perfectly okay. Like I said, this thing, a lot of people on Windows have problems getting the drivers to work, but Linux, it's plug and play. It's pretty ironic, actually, considering a lot of audiophiles or a lot of audio enthusiasts don't think that Linux is up to their standards, but Michael was telling me the first time we used this for Extra Life, he was telling me how shifty the drivers were and how when he upgraded to Windows 10, they stopped working and he had to go through all this trouble to get it to work again. And then we plug it into my Linux, my System 76 laptop, it just worked right off the bat. And then earlier, just a couple months ago, I plugged it into my desktop for testing and it worked perfectly fine. So this should go well. Let's take a look at the sides of this thing. I know my camera is really close to my desk right now. As you can see there, all it does is it says the name of the product on every side. It's got more pictures, which we're about to see the product itself anyway. It's got a barcode that I probably shouldn't have shown you there. And then it's got a bunch of stuff in a bunch of languages. And the bottom here is just more of the same pictures, descriptions, and yeah. That's everything there is to this box. So we are going to go ahead and open it up. This one I picked up from Guitar Center. It was the exact same price at Guitar Center that it was at B&H and Amazon. And I needed to get an XLR cable, and I didn't want to order an XLR cable online because I didn't know what I was doing with XLR cables, and I wanted to see it before I bought it, in person. So I figured I would pick up the Scarlett while I was there. And my friend Michael Chanot, like I said, he does a lot of Nerd on the Street audio stuff for me for those larger productions, and I know he shops at Guitar Center. He's taken me there before with him. So at the top of the box here, we've got some getting started information. Mac users and Windows users telling you how to get it set up. Linux users are left to fend for ourselves, but we'll get it. The main section of the box here, we've got some safety instructions. Step 1 is to read these instructions. Step 2 is to keep these instructions. Step 3 is to heed all warnings. Finally, step 4 is to follow all instructions. Yeah, I'm done with this. Gonna set that off to the side. That seemed a little excessive. Here we have the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 right here in its glory. It's named the Scarlett, and it is, a striking scarlet red. I do like the way this thing looks. I like colorful electronics, classic Macintosh computers with their colorful plastic. I've already got this will actually match my MIDI keyboard. You can see in the corner of the frame there, back there, my Akai MPK Mini Mark II has some red accents, so this thing will match that on my desk. It's in a plastic bag. We'll get it out of there in a moment. The only other thing in the bag here, or in the box rather, is a USB audio cable, and that is it. And we can slide that out like so. It is a red USB audio cable. I think this is USB 2.0. Yeah, so this is USB Type B to Type A, which is, this is like the one you see on printers. This is the one that goes into computers normally. It is a 2.0 audio cable. All of my ports on both my laptop and my desktop, every single one of the ports is 3.0. or above. The version of your USB on your computer is important because of power. With USB 2.0, it could get a little shifty whether or not your computer can put enough power out the USB port to power an interface like this, depending on what microphone you're using. If you're using a larger microphone or several, 2 larger microphones, because this has 2 inputs, that would use more power, and some people reported issues with their computers not being able to supply enough power out of the USB bus. But USB 3.0, the USB 3.0 standard actually has more power output than USB 2.0. So this is a USB 2.0 cord. If you have USB 3.0 ports, I would still recommend plugging it into those for that reason of power, electricity, if you have that option. Okay everyone, in a very unfortunate turn of events, my camera actually stopped recording there in the middle of the Focusrite Scarlett unboxing. At least I got the entire microphone unboxing recorded. I actually didn't know the camera had stopped recording because it was still trying to record, but something happened with my SD card. I think it might be failing, because when I tried to stop the camera, it would not stop recording, and 30 minutes later I ended up having to just take the battery out of the darn thing to get it to stop recording. I put the footage on my computer, I repaired the corrupted MP4 file with Untrunk, and it successfully recovered, which is why you got the microphone unboxing back. So thank goodness for that. I will take the camera into the desk here just to give you a close-up look at the Scarlett, because that did get lost, that footage from the unboxing, which I am very concerned about. That's terrible luck that I'm upgrading my audio equipment here, and the exact video that I'm doing that, my video equipment is starting to fail. Not what I like to see. So we'll see if that was a one-time event or if I have further issues with this camera and or SD card. But for now, you can notice I'm not talking into a Yeti. I've actually taken the Yeti off of my desk. I am currently speaking forward, and this microphone is hanging sort of off the top of my shirt here. I don't have it clipped on actually. I've just got the clip kind of sitting on the shirt. These things are made for clipping onto lapels of like button-up shirts, which I'm not wearing right now. I've actually started dressing nicer every day for work than I used to dress for school, so I've considered changing my wardrobe for the YouTube videos as well, but I have decided that for the time being I want to keep the casual feel for Nerd on the Street. So I don't think this looks too bad. I've got the cord running through my shirt, I've got the clip-on box down just clipped to one of my jean pockets, and yeah, from what I can tell from the Audacity waveforms, our levels are pretty good right now. Now I am just about maxed out on the gain. Actually, I think we might be clipping. Well, let me turn this down a bit then, and let me turn it up on the computer side. Wait, testing, testing, testing. I don't think any of these knobs on the Scarlett are affecting anything. I can turn that up a bit. Testing, 1, 2, 3. All right, still a bit confused about how this works. Maybe this is the normal level, and I'll just try boosting the audio. We'll see if this sounds a little better, because as you can see, the Focusrite Scarlett back here, it does light up green when you're receiving signal, and I had yeah, you can see it's lighting up red there, so I think that's actually peaking. I think I'm just not used to how it's supposed to look on Audacity. Recording with professional audio equipment, so maybe this will be a little bit better. I know I'm talking very long-windedly right now. I'm trying to give you guys a good first idea of how this thing sounds. I do have some background noise in my room. Last summer I put an air conditioning unit on the other side of my room, and that thing has been, I've turned it off for some of my videos, but recently I've started leaving it on, because when I do turn it off, the room gets hot very quickly, which does more detriment to my videos than the audio downside of it, because I can't focus on what I'm talking about. So we'll see how much background noise there is right now, but hopefully you can hear me okay. Looking at the Audacity waveform once again, we are very, very, very quiet right now, even though as far as I can tell, all my system volumes are turned up to 100% on my computer. So at this point, let's take the camera in and let's give you another look, or your first look close up at the Focusrite Scarlett. Now we'll actually be able to look at it while it's actually working, which is neat. Okay, so here's the Scarlett in here, and I am just going to move it a bit forward. Testing. So here's the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. As you can see, it's got this nice red brushed aluminum finish here. It's definitely metal. It does feel like thinner metal than the microphone box, but it is definitely metal. The top of it just has the Focusrite word mark there. We can see the bottom here has these large rubber feet, which, as I noted before in the footage that got cut off, the feet stick out the most on the 4 corners, so that's what we're actually going to be using right now. But if those ever get worn down, then we've got plenty of extra rubber going all the way from the front to the back, making huge, rubber feet. So this thing does stay on the desk where you want it. It will not get slid around accidentally at all. The front of this thing has 2 Xlr inputs, which means you can have 2 microphones plugged into it at the same time. Now that is going to be 2 mono signals. So for instance, Audacity, when I started recording, it was only recording on the left channel, and when I played it back, it only came through the left speaker. I had to set Audacity to record in mono, which is fine for voiceover work. It's not like this is a large microphone that's going to be picking up things from several directions that you need to distinguish between. It's just picking up a voice, which is the same. So for voiceover work, some people use mono anyway, even if they got stereo signals possible. But yeah, this is going to be 2 mono inputs. Each one of those inputs has its own gain knob, which is controlling how much signal is going into the computer. In layman's terms, this is the input volume, although there is a difference between volume and gain. This is the analog amount of signal that is being passed through or being collected. There is a switch on both of the inputs as well for toggling between line level and instrument level. These are just 2 different, basically, signal levels that the Focusrite Scarlett is going to expect to be receiving based on if you're playing an instrument or if you are recording in through a microphone like I am. We're recording in through a microphone, so I've got mine set to line level here. You can see when I'm talking, it does light up green when it receives a signal. And when I do talk louder, wow, I'm actually struggling to peak it now, but if I turn this gain up a bit, now you can see it's turning red. That's what I had it doing before. I apologize if that sounded bad earlier. Like I said, this is my first foray into pro audio, so still learning how everything works here. But yeah, when it's red, you're peaking, and I can tell on Audacity now that I'm looking at it that it is peaking out. When it's green, your level is good and it's receiving, signal. So that's awesome. On the right side, we've got some other things. We've got the 48-volt phantom power button. Now, right now, I do not have a battery in the battery pack of this microphone. It is being powered through the USB bus, through this thing, sending power out the Xlr cable. Like I mentioned earlier, most microphones will not be damaged if you send phantom power, even if they don't need phantom power. In the past, my buddy Michael Chanot, who has helped me with a lot of audio, like I mentioned earlier in the video, he's told me in the past that if you've got XLR being converted to like 3.5 millimeter or 1/4 inch, and you plug that into a microphone and you accidentally start sending phantom power, that it can actually blow the microphone up, fry the thing and break it. However, from the research that I've done, which admittedly is, I'm not an audio professional like I said earlier, but from the research I've done, XLR is a cable that has the ability to pass power through. Once again, I do not have a battery in that microphone box right now. The microphone box has an empty battery slot, and the power for the microphone is coming through this. You can tell it's using that power because if I turn this thing off, you're going to stop receiving audio. The thing ran out of power. If I turn this back on, now you're listening to me again. But when I turn that off, obviously the microphone turned off because it wasn't receiving power. But it should be safe to leave this on pretty much all the time for most microphones. Even if you're using, like I said, if you're converting to a non-XLR cable, those 3.5 millimeter cables and 1/4 inch cables simply don't have the capability to pass power through them. So the power will stop flowing at the end of the XLR cable in that case. And most microphones that are condenser or dynamic microphones will not be damaged by sending phantom power, even if they don't need it. There are some very, very obscure ribbon microphones that will be damaged if you pass phantom power to them and they don't need it. And that's why they have an option to turn it off here. But I will be leaving it turned on because I don't want to be burning through batteries when I could just be powering it off of my computer's USB bus. Down here, though, there is also an option to switch on or off the direct monitor for this. Basically, in addition to the 2 inputs, there are also 2 outputs on this Focusrite Scarlett. One of them is on the back here. And you can see on the back we've got the USB cable going to the computer. We've got a Kensington lock port. If you do want to physically lock this to a desk, you can do that. And then we also have left and right channel 1/4 inch outputs for if you have professional desktop speakers. On the front, we also have a single 1/4 inch output for if you've got monitor headphones that you want to use, which, as I said before, I wasn't initially planning on using this. I'm currently just using my headphones plugged in with a 3.5 millimeter extension cable to my computer. However, I do have some 1/4 inch to 3.5 millimeter converters, so I might try plugging my headphones into here and just seeing if they sound any different. If you are using this as a headphone interface, though, you've got 2 different volume meters. This is the volume for your headphones, basically, for all the sound coming out of your computer. And this is the volume control for the direct monitor if you have that turned on. Basically, the difference between this on and off, if you've got this turned off and you plug headphones in, you're just going to hear sound that your computer is sending to this. It will detect it as a sound card, just like my computer also detected my Blue Yeti as a sound card, which was pretty neat. I could use that for outputting sound from my computer directly to the 3.5 millimeter output on the bottom of my Blue Yeti. This will work the same way. My computer detects this as both an input and an output, and the output will go to this headphone jack. And if I have this turned off, all I will hear is a sound from my computer. Now, if I turn this on, in addition to any sound my computer is sending, I will also hear directly any signal going into these 2 XLR inputs will be monitored out of this 1/4 inch jack here for my output monitor. This can be really handy if you're trying to hear in real time what the levels sound like. If you're trying to hear how loud it is, or if you're picking up background noise or not. And that will be, like I said, pretty much instantaneous. It will not have any sort of lag because it doesn't have to go to your computer and back. When you're using this monitor with the switch turned on, it's going into these inputs and through the circuitry of this device and right out that port without leaving this device at all. And the monitor is to control that direct monitor volume. That's what this knob is for. So I've got that turned off right now because I'm not using it, but that's what all those switches do. The rest of this is just that nice red aluminum look, like I said, brushed. So this thing looks overall pretty darn nice. I mentioned earlier in the footage that I think got lost that my Akai MPK Mini Mark II MIDI keyboard over there has some red accents on the side, and this also has red accents, so it does definitely match what's going on my computer. It also matches the red AMD lights flashing in that computer, which it's funny. I used to prefer blue lights. Red did not used to be my color, but I have a lot of red things on my desk right now, so that's neat. And that's what that thing looks like. It's pretty small. It's a sort of significant footprint on the desk, but you can put other things on top of it and whatnot. I'm sure I'll end up putting things on top of it in the course of daily usage of this desk, since it is a little bit crammed. I normally put my phone here on the monitor stand, and I always throw my wallet and keys around this area, so we'll see what happens in terms of if I put anything else on top of that permanently or if I just leave that there. Definitely a less tall footprint than the Blue Yeti, since it doesn't have to stand up and point at me, so it's not obstructing my second monitor anymore, which is nice. One last thing I did mention earlier in the footage that got cut off was that XLR cables, if you're wondering what type of cable you need, I think this was one thing that I showed in the footage that got cut off that I did not show now after it got cut off. I got just a standard XLR cable from Guitar Center. It was not their cheapest brand, that was their own in-store brand, but it was basically the cheapest non-store brand option that they had. This was a live wire cable. It's got a lifetime guarantee on the XLR cable, which is, you know, the thicker one that's plugged into the microphone box right now. And I wasn't sure what type of cable I exactly needed. That's why I got one from Guitar Center in person rather than ordering one off of B&H or something, because I wasn't sure exactly what connector I needed on each end. This is a female to male cable though, and that's what you'll need if you're connecting a microphone to an interface in general. I learned this doing some quick research in the process of buying all of this. XLR cables will always flow in the direction that you're passing signal. So the signal, the audio is going into the microphone and through to the box. It's coming out of the box, so this box actually has male connectors pointing out of it, and the female end of the cable plugs into here. And then the male end of the cable plugs into the Focusrite, and then the Focusrite is USB to the computer, and it's harder to get USB messed up in terms of the direction that you're plugging it in, you know, because it's a digital cable, and it's type A on one end and type B on the other end, like I think you did see right before the footage got cut off. But yeah, for pro audio, I did learn that. So keep that in mind if you're ever wanting to do anything with pro audio and you're wondering what type of cable you need. The pins on the cables will flow in the direction of the signal that you're passing. The last thing I'll do before I end this video is I've been recording this with the normal on position of the microphone. I am going to switch it real quick to the position that is going to cut off some of the bass frequencies. And this is what that sounds like. So right now I'm recording it with some of the bass frequencies being cut off by the microphone box. You guys tell me if this sounds better or worse. Like I said, I think our gain is pretty good. Audacity's waveforms are very, very small right now, which is why I had it turned up a lot louder before, but the Focusrite's light is lighting up green, so I think anything else that's wrong in terms of levels, I'm going to have to adjust through the computer. But this is what it sounds like with the bass cut off, and this, once again, is what it sounds like in the normal mode. So you guys let me know. You know, I'll be interested to hear the difference when I'm editing this also. I will have to figure out what I'm going to do in terms of keeping this thing on my shirt during videos. Obviously right now, I actually don't have it clipped on. The clip is just kind of sitting on the shirt, like I said before. You can sort of clip this to a shirt. You don't want to clip it sideways because you want it pointing towards you. It actually makes a big difference which direction these tiny microphones are pointing because they're cardioid microphones. My Blue Yeti was technically, you know, I used it in cardioid mode often, but this is really a cardioid microphone where it really matters which direction you're pointing it, even more than it did for my much larger Blue Yeti. Since this thing's so small, you need to make sure it's precise in its direction. So I think this doesn't look too bad. It was starting to kind of drag down on my t-shirt earlier. If I pass it back through my shirt real quick, you can see, by the way, this is what it sounds like when I'm talking directly into it, and then when I point it away from me, you can barely hear me at all. So that's how important it is that you're pointing it the correct direction. And I can also, this is what the clip sort of looks like here. I would have liked if they had done a more symmetrical clip that would be easier to maybe clip to just any shirt rather than one that's got a collar or something, but you can do something like this as well. I don't think this looks quite as good as what I had going on a second ago. I'll just have to experiment with it and see. But the nice thing about this, look, I'm looking around right now. You know, I can move my hands again. Like I used to get so many comments on my older videos about how many large hand gestures I had, especially when I was really young. And I still kind of do that naturally. With my Blue Yeti right in front of me, for a lot of these videos, like the unboxings, it's been really difficult to maneuver myself with the Blue Yeti, talking into it all the time while also talking and making sure the camera angle is good and also focusing on what I'm actually doing, whether it's an unboxing or a computer thing or whatever. But now, you know, I can look back here and look at my computer to check something that I'm talking about, you know, look at my notes if I had notes. And it doesn't affect the audio because the microphone stays right underneath me. So I do think this is going to be a big game changer in terms of making videos easier for me to record, which is going to mean that I am making more of them for you guys more often. This video has probably been long enough for what it is. I do apologize for the hiccup in the middle there. I know it was kind of weird that that video got cut off, and I'm not sure,
you know, if I explain that entirely properly, but that was an equipment failure on the video side and completely unrelated to these products. Let me know if you have any questions about this product. I purchased it, you know, I don't have any affiliate codes or anything for them, but if you do have any questions about it, any settings, or if you have suggestions on how I can utilize it better since I am so new to pro audio, you can leave those in the comments down below on nerdonthestreet.com, YouTube, or Dailymotion. You can also visit me on the forums over at nerdonthestreet.com. And finally, equipment like this is made possible by the Nerd Club. You can go to nerdclub.knots.co to support me and my videos that I'm making. It's only $3 a month to join, and by doing that, you can help me get upgrades like this, you know. The Blue Yeti that I got years ago was the first purchase I ever made with Nerd on the Street money, and this purchase that I just made now was also with Nerd on the Street money. It really is your guys' support that helps me improve the videos over time. So if you want to see more content made with free and open software and with professional equipment like this, join the Nerd Club, nerdclub.knots.co, and a big thank you to our current Nerd Club members for your continued support. For now though, that is everything I had to say, so I'll see you guys in the next video. I'm Jacob Kaufman, I'm the Nerd on the Street. See ya.